Namaste, this is Sugantha, Department of Sanskrit, SFS, Shift 1, SDNB Vaishnava College, Krompet, Chennai. Today, we are going to see the few topics from Unit 2 of Semester 2. In Semester 2, Unit 2, there are 4 topics are there. Introduction to Arthasastram, Abhignana Shakuntalam, Introduction to Bhagavad Gita, Vidaraniti. Before enter to the Arthashastra, let us see the text of the author. Kautilya, the great Indian philosopher and statesman, also known as Vishnugupta, and by the name Chanakya, who was a scholar, economist and advisor to Chandragupta Maurya, the founder of the Mauryan Empire in ancient India. He has written many books. One of his main contributions is Arthashastra, which is believed to have been published in northern India more than 2500 years ago, somewhere between 321 and 286 BC. Kautilya's Arthashastra is an ancient Indian treatise on statecraft, economic policy and political strategy. The term Arthashastra is generally understood to denote politics, but really it means something more. It is the Shastra which helps in the attainment of second material prosperity, that is Artha. Thus, it is a subject concerning all aspects of practical life. The individual prosperity depends on the prosperity of society, which depends upon peace and good government in the country. Hence, the connection between kings, government and politics, etc. The Mahabharata and the Ramayana contains chapters dealing with this subject. The law books of Manu and Yajnavalkya as well as the Dharma Sutras provide some information on this topic. It is known by different names such as Niti Shastram, Dandanitihi or Rajanitihi. Brihaspati, Ushanas, Visalakshaha, Bharadwajaha, Parasharaha and others are mentioned as authorities on Arthashastram. This great work, divided into 15 sections and written primarily in prose, covers nearly all aspects of administration, law and order, the protection of dharma, economic management, the appointment of capable officials, the avoidance of excessive taxation, relationship with the allies and neighbors, war preparation, the avoidance of vices, statecraft, military strategy, foreign policy and more. Here are some key aspects of Rajadharma according to the Arthashastra. Welfare of the subjects. The primary duty of the king is to ensure the welfare and well-being of the subjects. This involved providing security, justice and economic prosperity of the people. The king was expected to protect his subjects from external threats and internal disturbances. Law and order. The king was responsible for maintaining law and order in the kingdom. He must establish a fair and just legal system and ensure that laws are enforced impartially. Punishment should be appropriate to the crime committed. Protection of dharma. The king was considered as the guardian of dharma, which includes upholding moral and ethical principles in the administration of the state. He must act virtuously and follow the path of righteousness. Economic management. The king was responsible for managing the economic affairs of the state. This involves overseeing revenue collection, taxation, trade and commerce to ensure economic prosperity. Appointing capable officials. A king must appoint capable and loyal officials to assist him in the governance of the kingdom. These officials should be chosen based on merit and competence. Avoiding excessive taxation. While the state requires revenue to function, the king should avoid burdening his subjects with excessive taxation. Fair and reasonable taxation policies were encouraged. Relationship with allies and neighbors. The king should maintain friendly and strategic relation with neighboring states and allies. He should be adept at diplomacy and know when to form alliances or engage in defensive strategies. Preparation of war. The Arthashastra recognizes the importance of military preparedness. A king must ensure that his kingdom is ready to defend itself against external aggression. Counsel and consultation. The king is advised to seek counsel from wise and experienced ministers. He should not make important decisions in isolation and must consider the welfare of the state and its people. Avoiding vices. The Arthashastra advised the king to avoid vices such as greed, arrogance and cruelty. These qualities can lead to the downfall of the ruler and the state. Mr. C.E.M. Joad remarks about this work. Throughout it is categorized by a freshness and realism which suggests that the author had first-hand experience of the actual problems of which he so engagingly writes. The Shukra Nitisara, consisting of 2200 stanzas, is said to be a condensed version of a more extensive work on the science of politics. Based on its style and treatment of the subject, it can be placed in the pre-Christian era. The Nitisara of Kamandakaha, composed around the 7th century AD, is based on Kautilya's Arthasastram. The Niti Vakyamridam of the Jain author Somadeva Suri offers moral teachings for kings and contradicts some of Kautilya's view on administration. Other notable works include Yukti Kalpataru of Bhoja, Niti Ratnakara of Chandrasekhar. Now let us see the introduction to Shakuntala. Kalidasa's Abhignana Shakuntalam is a Nataka in 7 acts, based on the well-known story of King Dushyanta and Sakuntala, the daughter of Vishwamitra and Menaka the Apsaras. It is also found in the Indian epic, the Mahabharata. The first 4 acts portray their love at Kanva Maharishi's hermitage. The refusal of Sakuntala by King Dushyanta takes place in the capital Hastinapura, which is covered in Acts 5 and 6. The final act depicts the events that occur in the hermitage of sage Maricha on the Hemakuta mountain. Let us see the story of Abhignana Shakuntala. King Dushyanta falls in love with Shakuntala, who is the adopted daughter of sage Kanva. The king becomes lovesick and Shakuntala also reciprocates the same. Dushyanta and Shakuntala get married, though through Gandharva Vivaha, and Shakuntala becomes pregnant. Sage Kanva comes to know of this and escorts her to Dushyanta's capital along with sage Sharangaravaha, the chief of sages. Meanwhile, due to the curse of sage Durvasa, King Dushyanta forgets Shakuntala. The episode of Durvasa's curse is an innovation made by Kalidasa to improvise the character of Dushyanta. Shakuntala loses the ring in the water, which was earlier given to her as a mark of love by the king. Hence, Shakuntala is rejected in the court in front of the court. Next comes the ring episode, where a fisherman is caught hold of by the gods of the king, charging him to be guilty of thieving king's ring. He finds it from inside a fish. When brought to the court, the king remembers Shakuntala at the sight of the ring or the Abhignana. The last act, Shakuntala and their son Sarvadamana meet each other and live a happy life together. Thus end the great drama of Kalidasa, where the Abhignana or the ring plays a significant role, and hence the name Abhignana Shakuntala. The play represents 2 sets of union, the love at first sight followed by union, and the union after separation after the birth of their son. The first one occurs in Kanva Ashrama and the other in the aerial ashrama of sage Kashyapa. The first union is marked by passion, indiscipline, negligence of duty and unwanted secrecy. The second is marked by self-imposed penance and austerity. In this play, Kalidasa presents a successful blend between the earthly and heavenly elements, the first union being earthly and the second celestial. The poet has achieved the goal of ideal love by depicting it through his poetic genius. This work, Kalidasa's masterpiece, which has won the appreciation of the world. The drama thus draws a passionate love story between Kings Dushyanta and Shakuntala. Kalidasa has ennobled love by elevating it from the physical to the spiritual union. The source text of the play is the Shakuntalopakhyanam of Mahabharata. The 4th act of the drama is generally considered to be the most charming in the whole play, and the 4 verses 6, 9, 17 and 18 are considered the best. Kavyeshu natakam ramyam tatra ramya Shakuntala tatrapi cha chaturtongaha tatra shloka chatushtayam. But the act 5 is regarded as even more charming than the act 4 by a few, hence the saying Shakuntala chaturtongaha sarvotkrishta iti pratha na sarvasammata yasmat panchamosti tatodhikaha. Introduction to Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita or the Lord's Song is a philosophical poem of about 700 verses divided into 18 chapters. It is presented as a dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield. As the armies stand arranged, ready for battle, Arjuna hesitated to fight, overwhelmed by the thought of slaying his own kinsfolk and preceptors. In response, Lord Krishna expounds the great truth of duty, dharma, and the knowledge of the self, inspiring Arjuna with the spirit of selfless service. The poem elaborately sets forth the eternal nature of the soul, the necessity of performing one's own dharma properly, and the value of karma, selfless action, jnana, spiritual knowledge, and bhakti, true devotion, as means of attaining liberation from the bondage of worldly existence. The doctrine of self-surrender, the lesson of detachment from the fruits of one's actions, and numerous other profound principles of Hindu philosophy are all encapsulated in the Gita. Consequently, it has remained the most revered and widely studied treatise on Hindu philosophy. Numerous philosophers like Shankara, Ramanuja, and Madhva have commented on it. There are translation and commentaries on Gita in all the Indian and foreign languages. In short, it is the greatest and most popular work in Indian philosophical literature. Though tradition holds the Bhagavad Gita to be a portion of the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata, scholars of research have refuted such a view. A long poem of 700 verses dealing with intricate and serious codes of philosophy could not have been spoken out on the field of battle. Originally, there might have been a brief dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna in the place of which the present long poem might have been introduced later. From the nature of its content, the Gita appears to be a scripture of the Bhagavatas, the follower of the Pancharatra school. Shankara recognized the Gita without any doubt as a portion of the great epic. The Vishnu Purana also speaks of it in the same strain. So the Gita must have been assimilated in the Mahabharata much before his time, namely the 4th century CE. Professor Telang thinks that the Gita must have been composed earlier than the 3rd century BCE. R.G. Bhandarkar puts in before the 4th century BCE. This early work must have been later incorporated in the body of the epic by about the 2nd century CE. Thank you.